welcome to the show. I'm with Gabby Kirby. Gabby, how would you describe as your dance style right now? Like, what do you consider your dance style?
Um, Probably contemporary. That's my favorite.
That's
Yeah.
you're so. Oh, you got a little bit of an accent now.
Oh no. That's what
You're
everyone keeps saying.
you're in Australia now, right?
Yeah.
And you got a little bit of an. You're from Florida,
Yeah.
and now you live in Australia for dance, which is awesome.
Yeah.
And you got there through cruises, right?
Yes. I started cruise ships in 2015, 16 with Royal Caribbean, and I've done 5 contracts. And then on my last contract, or 2 contracts ago, I met my partner, my boyfriend, and then we did one more contract together, and then I came to Australia after, and I came to his sister's wedding, and then we kind of just got stuck here because of COVID. So I've been here since February
Not a bad place.
2020. Yeah.
Not a bad place to be stuck, though.
No, Australia's been pretty normal since COVID's happened. I
And
haven't worn a mask or anything until like a month ago. We had like a small little lockdown because we had one breakout, and yeah,
sounds
wore a
really
mask
safe
for a
there.
week and I hated it. And then
Sounds really safe where you're at. And full disclosure for everyone listening, Kirby is what I used to call her, but Gabby used to teach her like a million years ago.
yeah.
And I haven't spoken to her in maybe 10 years. So this might just be a full, like, hey, what's going on with your life
Yeah.
podcast.
Chub and all of it together.
All of the things. Yeah, I don't think I've seen you. You have always been flexible. So you're like a very flexible. You do a lot of contortionist stuff, right?
Yeah.
But you were flexible as a kid. Like you used to take your leg and put it under your chin, and I used to think that was so gross.
You remember that?
Yeah, you and Norton used to
Yeah.
do this weird, gross thing.
We
And
called it a triangle. You put like your leg under here.
yeah,
I
you
don't think I
just
can do it
take your.
anymore.
I think you could. I've seen some of your videos. You're still so flex. How old are you now? If you're cool with answering that, you can say
26.
26, and you're still very flexible. And I do you ever get worried that that will eventually peel away?
It's definitely been more of a struggle the last few years. It's definitely hasn't been the same since I was young, so I have to work a bit harder at it now.
Yeah, when you were like 10, you didn't have any
I
bones.
can still tumble, but it's like the flexibility and
And you're
all of
very
that.
tall. How tall are you?
Yeah, 5'9".
So like tumbling for someone who's 5'9" is harder, I'm assuming, than someone who's shorter, right?
Yeah, I struggled to get a couple tricks when I was younger, other than like the shorter girls that were my friends. They all got tricks real quick, and I struggled to get all my tricks because I was too long
But
and
you
too tall.
but you got them. You got them. And you have like such great feet too. You did a lot of technical, like you had a really good ballet program growing up. So
Very.
what okay, I haven't seen you since you were like 10. What happened after I haven't seen what did you like did you always want to be a dancer at that age or what like
Yeah,
you hit 18 and you were like, I guess I'll do this."
yeah, yeah. I stopped competing with like regular dance competitions when I was maybe, I want to say 15 or 16.
So
I
did
stuck.
I. That's so
Yeah, and
interesting.
I stuck with ballet. I just did the ballet competitions until I was like, I think 19 or 20.
I did not do that.
I did ballet competitions and contemporary and point and all of that and the ensembles. And then I got a ship at 21. And then
That's
I went from there.
that's awesome. So what was the first cruise ship line that you worked for?
It was always Royal Caribbean. My
Oh,
first one was
they're so
Moses.
great. I know a lot of the people who work there.
Yeah,
They're so great.
they're an awesome company.
So for like people, because a lot of people who listen to this are dancers who want to become dancers. So if I'm a kid who's like, oh, I want to work for a cruise ship, what do you do? How do you get an audition for it? How does it work? What is the audition process even like?
Back when I auditioned, I don't think they were taking video submissions. So you had to go to their studio auditions and just audition in person. I think they were still traveling around.
Was it like an
Um,
open call or did you have to have an agent for
no,
it?
it was an open call. No, it was an open call. I just showed up. Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
And then on the ships, when you do the theaters on the ships, are they big? Are they little?
Oh, they're very big.
Oh, cool.
They're a little bit different to how they are on land because we have lots of props and the ship rocks. So it's a bit different, and we have things moving and going, and they've got like track lines, we call them, and the props link into the track line and they move in and out. So it's very, you have to be very cautious, and it's a little bit different than what it is on land, but it's really great. I love
Yeah.
it.
That sounds like 42nd Street. Like 42nd Street does a grid as well.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, there are some dances, you know, especially when it comes to props and like anything that could hurt anybody, everything is
Yeah.
very like you must stand here. If you're an inch over, it's not going to be
Yeah.
good.
Yes, yes.
How did you get into aerial work? Like
I think the first time I ever touched an aerial apparatus. Do you remember Demario?
hmm?
Demario? Yeah. I went to one of his summer intensives in Tampa and we did silks and I loved it. I was like, "Oh my gosh, I want to do this." And
Did
then I
you
just
have
kind
the upper body strength already because you could do like
of,
handstands and walking on
not
your head?
really, no. It's a weird different, it's different to what it is with acro and going to the gym. It's so different. You wouldn't think it would be, but it's so different. And then my first contract with Royal, they call it aerial assessments. So it's kind of like an audition for the aerial part of the show.
Mhm.
And so I did that. It was my first contract, so I just went for it. Couldn't do
You were like,
anything.
I can't do this, but let's just do it. Yeah, oh, I love that. You're like, let's just try it. That's
We
awesome.
did an assessment, and we had the Lyra apparatus,
What is
and you had
that?
to do a thing. It's just the circle apparatus.
Like a
What's it called?
hoop, but that's like
Wow.
up and down, perpendicular.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we had to do this move called a bluebird, which you like, I think some people call them pullovers. So you pull yourself up and you have to loop yourself through, and the lyra is like on your hips and you're like
Mhm.
inside of it. And I couldn't even get myself to go up. And I had someone help me. I
And they
swear.
still gave you the job. They're like, she'll
No!
get it.
Someone else got the job.
Okay. Okay. So that's great though for listeners. So like you do aerial work now, but the
Yeah.
first time you auditioned, they were
I
like,
had to work very
no.
hard. Yeah.
That's good for people to hear because it doesn't happen always right away.
Yes. I didn't get an aerial spot until my third contract.
It's hard.
I auditioned again for it, my second contract, and didn't get it.
They're
So
like,
yeah, you
no.
just have to work hard.
Yeah, I did a show where I was not an aerialist, but I did a show where I was a normal dancer, I would say, and there were aerialists, and we didn't really interact with them much in the show. It was for Puff Daddy, and then they like came down, and then when they actually came off the silks, they were on the ground, and I was like, they looked so tall and long up there, and then they came down, and they were like really short and like just could kick my booty. Like I was like, oh, like they were so strong and I was
Yeah,
so weak. And
aerialists are like real buff and
yeah, they're so strong. It's so cool. Would you say now you like more aerial work than groundwork, or what would you prefer?
it's pretty even.
I
They're
mean,
both very different.
it's so cool to be able to. I would love to be. I mean, I maybe one day. I'd have to start doing one push-up a day to like try to. I would be you on your first audition. Like somebody give me a ladder. This hoop is
It
the
was a
wrong
good try. It was a good try.
one. That's so fun. What is your how like if someone's not flexible out there? How do you become flexible? Like, what's your stretch process?
Definitely stay dedicated to stretching. Technique class, ballet class, if you can, acro class, if you can. Acro helped a lot with flexibility when I was growing up. Even though I was gifted with a lot of natural flexibility, acro definitely helped to keep it up. And stretching at home, some kids just stretch at dance class if they take dance class once, twice a week. And then they go throughout the rest of the week and they don't practice their stretching. And it doesn't get as better as it could. So definitely stick with stretching.
Yeah, every
Stretching,
day you got to
stretching.
do
A
it.
lot of people do yoga as well. A lot of older people I know that do yoga, and that
You
helps
just
them
call
a
me
lot.
old? No, I'm kidding.
Do you do yoga?
Barely. Sometimes I get there's certain yoga classes I really like in LA, and then there's some that I get really bored in because I am not of the I want to watch my breathing for forever. I just want to go on to the next thing. But that's just my personality. It's because I can't calm down. Uh, just
kind of
Very,
like that too.
yeah. And I don't like hot yoga. My sister loves hot yoga.
Let's
Like
try
when the
it.
sweat is coming down from the ceiling, I just genuinely feel like other people I don't know. I'm like, I don't know you. I don't want your sweat on me. Like it's gross to me. But she
I've
loves
never tried it.
it. Don't.
I have to try it now, just so I can say I've done it.
Oh, that'll be gross. So in Australia, are you getting the opportunity to do more contemporary work?
Yeah, not as much contemporary, but definitely enough dance work. Um, Perth has been pretty well with COVID and everything, so they've opened up shows and everything quite early compared to other states and cities here in Australia. So I've had a lot of great opportunities, and I've been very lucky that I've been able to perform as much as I had since I've been here. So
That's awesome. That's awesome.
yeah.
So for people who are looking to join a cruise as a dancer, what are like some uh like I can't imagine trying to dance while the boat's turning or there's like a bad night. Like, do you have like to do like a pirouette while you're in a show and then all of a sudden it takes like a beeline and you're like, okay.
um, we do have plan Bs for every show. So if the ship is very rocky, we do kind of have a plan B. Like if the girl dancers are in heels, we'll switch to flat shoes, to jazz shoes or whatever we have that's not a heel and kind of fix that, take out lifts or anything.
To
And
keep
it
it fair.
depends on what venue you're in. When we did our last contract, I was on a ship that had a 270 venue. That's what
Mhm.
they called it. And we had a lot of the stage would lift up and down in certain sections. So it had like a circle and then two like side bits that would raise up. So it was very dangerous if that cue didn't go and everything was rocking and then we're doing spins and we're all this close to each other. So we'd have to kind of dumb down the show a bit if that
For
happened.
safety's
But
sake. Yeah, that's totally
yeah,
fair. And
it happens. So you just kind of have to be prepared for it.
And then the show is a lot of lifts, right? Like you have to know how to be lifted. I think a lot of girls don't understand that they have to participate in the lifting. They think it's kind of like a 6-year-old being like, "Mommy, lift me," and it's
Yeah.
not like you have to participate in that, right?
Definitely good to have partnering um, experience before you go on a ship. I didn't have a lot. I did have a bit in ballet because we didn't have a lot of boys growing up at our studio, but I had some boy teachers.
And you were at
that,
All American Dance Factory, or no, All American, yeah, Dance Factory, right?
yeah,
And then, but the ballet program was called what? I
All American Classical Ballet School.
correct, and they're still around, and Gigi, and they're so good. Do
There's
you ever get to talk to them again? Like recently or in the
in
last year?
between contracts, when I go home, I always go back and take class because I love seeing them and
So they
seeing
have
how.
an adult class there for people. That's really
Yeah,
cool.
yeah, I do miss that a lot. Yeah,
And
it'd
you
be
have a
great.
sister who is also in dance, Courtney.
Yes,
Do you
yes.
guys have you guys ever gotten to do a contract together?
Yeah, we did actually. We weren't in the same cast, but we
What
were
does
on the
that
same.
mean for people who are listening? So you were on the same boat,
So
but you weren't in the same show?
certain ships have multiple venues. Some older ships will have a theater and maybe an ice skating rink, and then some of the newer ships have two or three venues, usually two. Um, and I was in the theater, and she was in the 270 lounge area. So my contract started at a different date with a different cast and ended on a different date. And she started with a different cast. Start date and end date were different, but we were both cast on the same ship, if
That's
that
so
makes sense.
fun. Did you guys do they give you individual rooms or do you have a roommate on ships for the majority of the time?
It depends.
Contracts
um,
change, right?
yeah, on smaller ships and a little bit older ships, I think they all just have bunks unless you're in a couple's cabin or if you're a dance captain, you get your own cabin.
Incentive to
But
be a
on older
captain.
ships, they do have single shares, what they call them. So you have your own bedroom, and it has a sink, a bed, and a mirror, and everything you need. But then you share the toilet and the shower.
Okay.
So you have your own space, but you have to share the bathroom, which is perfect.
And I
And
don't
then
think people realize how tiny those rooms are. They're not
tiny.
Yeah,
In
you're
the
not.
single ship, the bed are folded up on the wall, so you have to fold it down and climb up into bed. And then you fold it up, and then you have a room, a
Now
tiny little.
I've heard that in some ships the dancers have to like wash not wash people's hands because that sounds terrible, but like have like I don't know like what like do other things other than dance. Is that
Yeah,
something you've experienced?
it's pretty rare on ships if you don't have any other jobs that you get assigned to on
So if
ships.
you're looking to be a dancer on a ship, what are some of the other obligations you may encounter depending on the ship and the obviously the contract?
Usually pax drill or boat drill will be mandatory. It's like the law on
What
cruise
drill?
ships. Pax drill
What's that?
or just drill. So
What's a
when people
pack
come
drill?
on, when guests come on the drill or come on the ship, when they come on the ship, we have to do drill. So we're teaching the guests the rules of the ship, and if anything happened, these are the places they go, and if we need to evacuate the ship, we evacuate the ship. So they have to all learn how to do that.
I feel like
And
that's
we
a fun gig.
yeah, it's fun. It can be fun.
Yeah, because it's
Yeah,
like, I mean,
it's a
obviously
lot.
you want to practice doing that too. Like there's nothing bad about you knowing how to do all of those things all the time.
Yeah, everyone has to know the safety of being on board. It's very important.
Now, were
Yeah,
you on
it's a
a
lot of
ship
fun.
when COVID happened?
Yes and no. Um, I think the first time we heard about COVID, I think it was in January,
Mhm.
and I was still on the ship. There was just one little article that came out about some little virus called coronavirus, and we were like, oh, what's that? It's all fake. We don't know. Whatever.
Mhm.
And then it got worse. But our sign off date was February 15th. So we had a month left from when we heard about it. So we signed off. And when we signed off the ship, there was no guests. So no one else was signing on the ship after that date that we signed off. So I think, sorry if anyone that was on the ship was listening, I think they were stuck on the ship for maybe 3 months after we left with no guests, just the dancers, workers, all of the crew that were left.
So you
There
were
was
on a boat for 3 months?
I wasn't. I signed off that date, and after that date, they were all stuck.
So you lucked out is what happened.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
what country were you in when that happened?
So we were in Singapore.
So, and that's such an interesting thing for people too. If you're looking for, and for anyone who's watching this on the Patreon, my cat just jumped up on the couch. She's a very, she loves dance.
Of course she does.
Yeah, she loves it when I stretch. No, actually, she does. Anytime I stretch, she tries to bury her head in, and I'm like, I can't finish the stretch. But yep, Ginger's here, just being fabulous.
So
Um,
cute.
but I don't think everyone like one of the things that is so cool about being a ship dancer is that even the right word? Is ship dancer?
Yeah, cruise
Okay.
ship dance.
It feels like a weird word to say. It's that like you get to tour like the world, you get to see all these countries, and so typically, how does it work? Like, what's the schedule like? Like, you get on a ship, you do how many dances a day? Do you get to get off and like look at the town? How does that work?
My last contract, the cruises were shorter. There were like 4 and 5 day cruises. So day one, guests would sign on. We do our boat drill, and then we'd probably have one show that night in the evening, maybe at like 6 o'clock. And then the next day we'd have 2 shows, a day off, 2 shows if it was a 4 or 5 day cruise. Then
So
turnaround
you
day
do
again.
get days off.
We'd probably get one day off.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Or if the contract before that, I was in Australia and New Zealand, so the cruises were longer because it would take longer to travel to the places we were going to. So those cruises were 7 to 14 days. Um, so we didn't do as much work. We'd probably do shows day 6 and day 10. And then in between that, we'd probably do like dance classes
You teach the
or,
guest dance classes?
yeah, there's dance classes as well. It depends where you are in the world, but usually, yes, we would teach dance classes. We taught some ballroom classes, and some people would teach hip hop classes. And then we would try to get the dancers together and do just a dance class for us. Someone would volunteer to teach that week, and then they would teach us a combination, we would all dance. So it was good to keep up our dancing skills while just doing the same shows over and over again. We wanted to do something new. So that was really good. That's usually in our contracts to do that and go to the gym. So keep fit. So
yeah, that's been a common thread on this. Dancers have always been like, you got to stay fit because you're going to be in a tiny outfit. So get ready.
Well, yeah, your contracts are 6 to 9 months. And when you sign on, you try on the costumes and you kind of need to stay in your costumes and fit in your costumes for that amount of time because we don't have the seamstress on board the whole contract. They come on at the beginning, they fit you to your costume, and then that's it.
And the
So
food
that's
is
why
so good and you get to eat as much as you want, or do you have to pay for the food?
it's usually free. If you go out in guest areas and you want to go out to a nicer dinner and eat out, you would have to pay for it. But if you don't do any of that, you don't pay for food. You just go to the crew mess or the cafe
And then you
and
just
eat for free.
eat, and then you're like, oh, I
Yeah.
gotta go to the gym. And do you get to go by the pool, or do you feel weird about going to the pool because guests are like, oh, are you that girl who was in that hoop on the ceiling last night?
Yeah, you get that. You get that sometimes. But yeah, we're allowed to go to the pool. If it's busy, then they advise us not to go. But if there's not as many people around, then we can go by the pool. And on
And then I
port days, if people want to get off the ship, they just go by the pool and there's no one there. So
that
it's
makes
okay.
sense. And then on port days, do you guys get to get off if you want to and do excursions?
Yeah, we all have time frames when we have to get off and get back on.
You
And
have to get off. There's times where you like,
you don't have to get off. But the guests will have different time frames as well. So they can get off at like 8 a.m. and then be back on at like 8 p.m. But they want the guests to get first priority. So we'll have to wait a couple hours. So let's say we can't get off until like 10 a.m.
sounds
and then
nicer.
we'll have to get back on at like 7.
Great. You don't have to wake up so early. That sounds like you got
But sometimes you've been on the ship for a week and you weren't able to get off, so you want to get off as long as you want.
That's fair. Did you get seasick the first time you started doing this?
No,
No.
I never got seasick. Very lucky.
Yeah, you're
A lot,
very lucky.
a lot of people do, but I never did.
That's awesome. What are like some of the countries that you've gotten to go to?
I actually have a list. Oh, maybe I don't. I used to have a list. I've been to a lot of Asia. I've been to New Zealand, Australia.
Yeah, you stayed in Australia.
I think that's it.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, a lot of Asia, like Hong Kong, Singapore, Japan, China.
Now, is there a language barrier problem or did you learn some words?
Yeah, if we were in China, we just all had to we say ni hao, that's hi. And that's all I'd really say because I get the other ones confused. So I'm just like ni hao, ni hao, or if you're just guiding someone, ni hao, ni hao. And they all just smile at you and laugh at you because that's all you could say.
I bet that's so fun to be like, oh yeah, I'm doing my best here. And
Yeah.
okay, so the classes that you guys get to teach each other and whatnot. I am only thinking of you from when you were 10, so there are possibilities like 12. You took my hip hop class, but like you were a contemporary dancer as a kid and then a little acro kid. Do you do hip hop now?
Not really, no.
Totally fair, totally fair. You were good at it. I just wasn't like your thing. You like had like beautiful turnout during a hip hop dance, which
Yeah,
is
I don't think hip hop like really suited me, but it was fun.
it's good to know all styles regardless of what you want to do. You know what I mean? Like if you want to be a hip hop dancer, you
I
have
have
to
the
take ballet.
experience,
Yeah.
but
Uh,
I don't really think anymore. I should.
no, no, you should do what makes you happy. So what kind of contemporary, like do you teach any classes or do you do any choreography now? Or are you
I
mostly
teach
just
a lot
wanting
of
to be a
ballet.
dancer? You teach ballet?
Yeah, I'm one of the main ballet teachers at a studio that I teach here in Perth.
Cool. So you
Um,
get to teach at a studio too. That's really cool. How do you decide your ballet program for kids?
what do you mean
Like if
by
there's
that?
teachers listening in smaller towns who are like, "Oh, I have a ballet class. Like how should I structure it?" Like, you know, obviously start with a bar then across the floor
Oh yeah,
or
yeah.
like
I have an hour for each class, except for the 10-year-olds and under. Their class is 45 minutes. but I have an hour with all my other classes, and I do bar. Depending on the day, I usually do bar for a half hour and then the rest another half hour. But if I went over that half hour and then we only did a little bit of bar, I kind of switch it the next week. All right, let's do less bar today and more center work. So I kind of just like go with the flow. It depends on the kids and how
Do you
they're
think
feeling.
that,
Sometimes they're like, can we please just stretch? And I'm like, no.
well, they're kids. Yeah, they're going to try to get away with stuff, of course.
Yeah.
Do you think that like ballet has changed in that like it used to be full, like just like tendus and like full technique, and now it's about a little bit more strength within your movement? Or do you think it's been the same since you've been growing up?
No, I think it's changed a bit. It's always ballet is so hard, and I
Yeah.
know why a lot of people don't like to do it. It's so hard. There's so much that you have to think about in maybe one combination that's a minute and a half. You're just doing plies with your arm and all the way down to the ground, but you have to suck in your stomach, your chest is up, your shoulders are down, your head is tilted, you're still breathing, but you're like not, you never stop moving. It's a lot, but I've always loved ballet.
I love
Ballet's
that. My niece is a big, big fan of ballet. Like she is a teenager who I think wants to be a ballerina when she grows up. What would be some like examples that you would tell her, like what avenues to take? Like I know she does like the Grand Prix competitions and things like that.
Mhm.
But
Grand.
what
I did ADC as well. That ballet competition was great. I loved ballet competitions. Grand Prix is great as well. And going to New York, we did that one time with Grand Prix for our ensemble, and that was so much fun. And just putting yourself out there and taking open classes and going to auditions, even if you don't get the part or get the job, like just getting yourself out there and going to all the auditions that are out there, and yeah, and staying in class.
I think that you like even just like the example of like you trying to jump into the aerial hoop and being like, I don't know how to do this, is like such a great like to be fearless is such an important part of it.
Yeah, for sure.
Because you're gonna fail. No one's gonna be, you're not like as much as you may be the best kid in your studio, you're gonna fail at some point in time.
Yeah, cheesy, but you never know until you try.
That's totally true. So what would be like if I wanted to be a ballerina, what would you say are like some, because you're kind of in that whole world right now, what would be the best way to like try to achieve it? Is it one of those things where like your body image is still as important as it used to be in like the 90s? Or is it like a little bit more like they want to make sure, you still have to be fit, but you have to be healthy as well? Because ballet used to be attached to like the idea of an eating disorder, right? Do you think that that is kind of out of the scene now? Hopefully.
I hope so. I haven't really been in the professional ballet scene for a long time. Um, but I hope it's not as strict as it used to be. But you definitely have to, unfortunately, look a certain way and be healthy, but still look a certain way, kind of.
Hmm.
But yeah, to be in the professional scene of ballet, they always said that you had to look a certain way when I was in that scene, and I was always struggling. Yeah.
Yeah, because cookies are so good.
But salad.
Yeah, salad with a cookie on the side. So what if your feet are like you have good point, but they're not like the best? How would you work on your arch of like having a better foot for ballet?
Point work actually helped a lot, and
Mhm.
I remember my teacher telling me point work helped a lot, to strengthen your feet and help with your arch and your point in your foot. And we did a lot of therabands, those
Mhm.
stretchy therabands that people usually
What's
use
like
to.
an exercise you could do at home if you had a TheraBand
Yeah,
that you just bought on
yeah.
Amazon?
We did a lot of therabands. I remember when I was growing up, and we would have stretch classes in our summer intensives or sometimes on the weekends. And we do a lot of therabands that helps a lot with strength in your feet and your arch. And I remember seeing a lot of kids had the foot stretchers. I never had one of those, but it's like the wooden platform, and then it has like a stretchy band on the top, and you slip your foot in, and it like.
To me, I've never used one either. I've seen kids use it and I'm sure it's a great product, but for me, I feel like that's like the laziest. Like just put your foot in something and watch your favorite TV show. I mean, by all means do it because maybe it does work. Like I have
Yeah,
no
maybe it
idea.
does. I've never. really used one.
The
But
easiest, chillest way
I
to like.
remember that our teachers used to say, put it under your couch.
Mhm.
But that's probably not great because you'll probably pull a tendon or something like that. So maybe just use a foot stretcher.
What would
And
you what would you do with the TheraBand? Like, so let's say someone at home is listening. How would they utilize? Like, they have a TheraBand, they have a foot. Now what?
it's hard for me to explain over here, but you just wrap it around the ball of your foot, and I would do demi point and demi point and flex, and do that stretch over and again, and then flex and point
And so there's
on.
resistance because the TheraBand is like giving you
Yes,
resistance.
yes, you're pulling the band, but you're pushing with your foot.
And then
So
what
you
would you say is the best thing for you to get more flexible? Like, would you say doing it when it comes to, and then there's obviously many different kinds of flexibility. So like your splits and then like back bends, or what do you think for overall?
definitely over splits. Definitely over splits. Prop your foot up on an ottoman or a couch, or start with pillows.
I remember you guys would do it on the acro mats, and some of you would
Yes,
get to these like ridiculous levels
we've had
where it
so
was
many.
so gross to look at.
We probably had like 10, maybe acromats, and so we'd probably stack maybe 5 or 6 on top, and it would be pretty high off the ground.
Yeah,
And
especially for your tiny bodies.
legs up there, had no fear, and just made ourselves do it. Or we would do both on each side
Yeah,
and just
you guys would
from
be
there.
so gross.
Or I used to do privates, and I'd lay on my back and be up, stacked up on the mats, and I'd have one person on each side, and they just push my legs down for an overstraddle. Oh, good times.
Yeah,
That's
I don't. Oh my gosh. Okay, so I have some questions that I ask everybody on the podcast. So first question, who is your favorite singer to move to? Like if you just were dancing or teaching a class or on your own, what would be your singer that your go-to singer right now? Obviously that always changes.
um, it's contemporary. Probably like Easy Oboso or James McMorrow, something like that. I love or Matt Corby. I
Mhm.
love his music. It's good stuff.
Those
Yeah.
sound great. What's your favorite music video of all time?
Oh God, I'm not really a big music video person.
That's fair. Is there a
Yeah.
favorite dance performance of all time then?
Can I say that I like Center Stage, the movie?
Yeah.
I love that movie when she's doing the point solo at the end. Yes, that's everything.
Yeah, center stage. I haven't
That
thought.
was a music video. That would be it.
Well, it kind of is because she does that one like dance class scene where she like is like not a ballerina and she's like, I'm
Yeah,
gonna rotate my rib cage.
classic.
It is. What's your favorite after show food?
Mm, after show food. Probably something greasy. I don't know.
It's really interesting. Most people do that.
Should be eating something healthy. Maybe like pizza or fruit.
What kind of pizza do you pick? What's your pizza of choice?
I've always liked cheese. I'm such a basic cheese pizza.
Oh, is it like good
I
pizza?
like lots of or vegetable pizza. Oh, with all the veggies. Throw everything on there.
Okay. Okay. And what's the most difficult trick you've ever had to learn for a show for yourself? I'm sure
Probably
you're.
something aerial wise. Yeah. Um, when we did on one of my contracts, we did a partner aerial situation, and the girl's not attached to anything, but the male is in a harness, and it's a 2-point harness. So you have to, the girl is, it's hard to explain. I think the guy was laying like this in a harness, and the girl's on her knees, like on his chest.
Okay, so the
And
guy's like planked flat and the girl is on top of
on
him.
her knees, like sitting on his chest.
Mhm.
And then you have to grab up on the two parts, and you have to do a pull up and then a straddle at the same time. So you're pulling yourself up and then doing a straddle, and then you go upside down.
And if you
And
fall, you fall on this
you're not
poor
attached to
man.
anything. Yeah. Yeah, that's probably the hardest thing that I ever had to do. That whole part, that whole duet was very hard, but I did it.
Yeah, so satisfying. Did you ever fall on the guy?
Um, one time we did fall out and had to like, all right, walk off stage.
How do we Oh, in the show you did it?
Yeah.
Oh, no. So, like, how do you so you're, like, in the middle of this fabulous trick, and it didn't work, which happens. What do you just, like, roll off and, like, pose and keep walking and do the next step? Or do you
There's,
just, like
there's this one part where the boy's upside down on the harness and I'm holding like this, and I think I was in a, what do you call it? I had my legs over my face and I'm like upside down.
I hope people who are not dancers are listening and are like, "What?" She's so flexible, everybody, like, insane. If you go to her Instagram, you'll see. Okay, we'll definitely plug that. What's your Instagram? What's your Instagram?
Gabby Kirby underscore.
Just underscore at the end for no reason?
Yeah, because
I love it.
someone else took my name, so had to add the
Who
underscore in there.
stole it? Who stole it? Okay, so
But yeah, I'm trying to pull myself up, and then I couldn't because I was really sweaty. So I was like shaking my head. No, we're going down. So I let go. We had to walk off.
you just are like, "No, we're going to." That's so Titanic on a ship. We're going down the ship.
Going down.
Oh, that's so funny. Okay, and if you had to have another job outside of the dance world, what would it be? Like if you couldn't be in the arts world necessarily.
Mm, I really like kids, so maybe like a nanny or work in daycare. Or I also like interior design. I think that's cool as well. I don't
Yeah,
know.
those are both great choices. Um,
Hmm.
do you think that your career, whenever you finish being a professional dancer, you'll go to be a teacher since you like kids?
Yeah, yeah.
And do you only teach ballet or do you teach contemporary as well?
Um, I haven't been teaching any contemporary lately. They really needed a ballet teacher, so I stepped in and did that.
Yeah.
But I help teach afro classes as well. And at Studio 24 here in Perth, they started a new program called Dance Cirque. So they do juggling and they do silks, and then they're gonna bring in like a lyra apparatus eventually. So yeah, we teach kids like little circus classes, and it's real fun.
Awesome. That's awesome. But okay, so if I'm a teacher at a studio and it's a program that I'm thinking of introducing to my
Mhm.
studio, what do I do? How do I start that? You know what I mean? Like, first of all, I think of acro teachers as like, I've tried to teach kids back handsprings and they are like just dead weight on your arms. And so like the poor teacher is just basically carrying the child across. So it's like just the structure of that alone is like so taxing on the teacher's body. Um, what would you recommend? How would you even start a program like that if you were, in some random country somewhere that you're like thinking about doing it?
You definitely need to educate yourself how to spot the children because it can be very dangerous. Lots of kids are fearless and they'll just go for the tricks and do a back handspring and follow their head. So that's great that they're fearless, but you need to know how to spot the children before you're letting them do a backflip.
Yeah, so that's
So
very important too. So teachers, there are classes or online things of like how to spot somebody. Don't just say, I'm going to put my hand underneath your back and not let your head touch the floor, right?
yeah, yeah. I was very lucky. I think I was maybe 12 or 13 and I learned how to spot kids. So I just kind of
Who taught you how to spot? Was it Marlo or
Lindsay did.
Lindsay? Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Years ago.
She was a great acro teacher. Yeah.
Yeah.
Shout out to Lindsay.
Yeah.
Um, but like, what would you do? So if you're thinking of doing like a circus class or a circ class, would you focus on like flexibility, handstands?
Just in a circus class, like if you're doing.
If I'm a new studio or I have a studio and I'm thinking of open, because I think that that's such a great thing that you said that the studio is doing like a circ class. And I think that that's such a great market that's like not really tapped into studios, but like the knowledge is not fully there. So what would you like if legit, if like there's like a tiny studio in the middle of nowhere who's thinking of adding something like this, what would be the things that they would need in the studio equipment wise to even start it? And then where would you start? Like, what's assuming the kids can only do cartwheels or something like that? You know what I mean? Like, because you have to teach them all of the tricks too from like the beginning, obviously.
Definitely invest in some good mats for the
Mhm.
kids. And if you're doing aerial work, make sure you have the correct apparatus and the correct rigging. And if you don't know how to do any of that, hire someone to do it because it's very important and you don't want to take that risk to have things that don't work properly or aren't set up correctly. So
And so, like, let's
definitely.
say someone like me who's 38 and probably never going to do this, but let's say maybe I did one day. I was like, had one of those dream days where I was like, I'm going to be able to do a silk, like the most basic of all basic circ things.
Yeah.
Would you be like, oh, Kim, you need to like do 5 push-ups a day? Or like, what would I have to do to like
Oh
even
yeah,
think about it?
we definitely do strength training in some of the classes. Um, with the little kids, we do relays. We call them relays, where they do like little bear crawls or inchworms, where they're just warming up their bodies and learning how to do coordination and using their upper body and doing some push-ups, doing splits,
Now, when
doing
you say
kosas.
push-ups, do you mean elbows out or elbows in?
Most of the time, elbows in.
Okay.
I think that's, I don't know. I prefer to do elbows in.
Okay.
But if they're very beginner, probably like a nice wide. But don't drop the head and don't arch the back. I see a lot of that.
That would be my push-ups, everybody.
Got to start somewhere.
Oh yeah, of course, of course. I actually never took an acro class till I was in my 20s, and I did learn how to do some tricks, but like
What was it with us?
I just no, I wanted to learn how to do. I went to a gymnastic place because I
Oh,
didn't want to be around kids that I was teaching, and you guys were such good tumblers, and I was like, I just want to be able to do an aerial and a back handspring and maybe a standing tuck because I had really strong legs, but I was like, I don't want to learn anything else. Like I really legit just wanted these like randomness.
you
And
just walk in and say that.
I did, and I got private lessons, and I was like, "Yo, coach, this is all I want." Like, and he was like, "Well, let's start with back handspring." And it turned out that like the standing tuck and the aerial were way easier than a back handspring for me because I have no arm strength.
Okay.
But like my legs were fine. And the aerial was easier, but a back handspring, I was like, "Wait, what?"
Some
I'm
people
putting.
are like that. The coordination or the arm strength is a bit harder, so they just like flip in the air with no
Yeah, I did
arms.
the cheese wheel thing where they give you like a cheese wheel to like go like
Yeah.
this,
Yeah.
and I hit my head immediately. It's like, what is happening here? Yeah. Have you ever had any like injuries from tumbling or anything like that?
Um, Not really, no. I've hit my head a couple times and fallen
Because
out of
you're so
chairs.
tall,
I've
or
never,
just
like, I don't even know, but I've never. Oh, I have like sprained my finger a couple times tumbling.
I'm gonna give you this. 'Cause it's so it's just your finger. You do like like what are some of the tricks that you can do? You can do aerial, you can do standing tuck. I don't know what else.
Back handsprings, front aerials.
Do
Yeah,
okay, front aerials I always call kickovers. What's the difference?
yeah. They call them front aerials in some other places.
Yeah, no, some places in America call them one way or the other. Yeah.
I think I learned to them as a kickover.
Okay.
A kickover. Yeah, yeah. That was probably one of my favorite tricks.
It looks
It,
cool.
yeah, it's pretty, but it like looks a bit difficult.
And I
Yeah.
do my favorite to watch, and it's probably because I like hip hop so much, is the aerial where your knees are bent and you grab behind your legs. Because I like
Oh
that it's not
yeah, those are
straight
cool.
leg. I think it looks fun to do. Very, very cool. Have you on your I said I was gonna be like on your boat, like it's a ship, it's
I
not a boat. On your tiny little boat, have you ever no, on the ships have like what's some crazy stories that you guys have encountered? Is there any silly stories that you can share that are, obviously family friendly?
oh, there's so many. I've been late a couple times to getting back on the ship.
What happens if you're late?
You get in trouble and you get like a written warning, a
Do
little
they
like
leave you
a little
though?
slap on the wrist, pretty much,
Has
but just
anyone
like in writing.
has anyone
Um,
gotten left like behind in a country?
yeah, yeah.
I would like, what do you do if you're in a country you don't know how to speak the language and you're just
Oh, it happens. I don't know what they do, but you got to work it out
yeah, no
because
Uber.
the ship's leaving when they leave. So sorry, not sorry.
Yikes. But have you ever had any like performance other than like dropping on that guy's chest? Have you ever had any like weird performance things where like
Oh, so many show stops where everything has just gone wrong and we have to stop the show mid-show. And it's so awkward, but it has to happen because of safety. I did 2 contracts ago on Ovation of the Seas. I was doing an aerial part and I was in a chandelier apparatus and I'm in a
Okay. You were in a
mark.
chandelier. That sounds
Yeah.
fabulous.
Yeah, and a
Lady
2-point
Gaga,
mark.
I don't know if you're listening, but that needs to be in a video.
Um, and there's a pit. They call it a pit, so the floor opens and you go down into underneath. And I come up from underneath, and I don't know really what happened. The time codes and all of that weren't clashing together. And I came up late, and then everything else is off if that happens. So they just like stopped the music and the lights didn't turn on. So I was just like dancing in the dark. It happened 3 times in a row. They're like, all right, let's do it again. All right, let's try again. Let's try again. And I got it on the 4th try. And
But,
the
like,
audience
with
was
a
like,
live audience, like, the audience, like, legit, like, did the, like, MC or, like, the house person get over the mic and it was like, "We're gonna try that again," or just
yeah, yeah, they always do that, yeah.
that's so
We're having
awkward.
technical difficulties. We're gonna try again. Something like that.
I kinda love that they do that though, because like, a Broadway show wouldn't do that. Like, a Broadway show would just be like, figure it out and pretend that it worked, but, like, it's kinda nice that they let the audience in on the, like, "Hey, this is hard, we're gonna do that again," and then by the
Well,
4th time, they're like, "You did it!" Like
on ships, they're just real big on safety. So if anything, any little thing happens and someone's not 100% sure that's running the apparatus or is in charge, they will stop the show. So obviously that happened 3 times in a row. So we kept going until we got it right.
I love that though. I love that they keep doing it until it's perfect. I think
Yeah,
that's so cool. Um, very, very cool. Do you think you'll keep doing ships once they're allowed out again and all of that?
I would love to. Yeah, when it's safe.
Is there like, would you ever want to join Cirque du Soleil or anything like that?
Oh, I've always wanted to. That's like the dream job.
Really?
Yeah, Cirque du Soleil.
Why don't
Yeah,
you audition for it?
I should. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm stuck out here right now, but I wonder if they're actually having auditions right now.
I don't know.
In
Everyone message Kirby on her Instagram. Let her know about it. Because she would be awesome on it.
yeah.
I went to a Cirque du Soleil show when I was 10 years old because I was actually touring on another dance show and we went to watch another dance show while we were in a dance show. I always find that very weird. It's the same thing when I used to dance for like rappers. You'd finish like the VMAs or like whatever your show is, and then they would have a dance party that you had to go to, and then they hired dancers to dance at
Can't get
those shows for the dancers. And I'm always like, I felt bad for them because it'd be like, you're the beat. Like, I don't think they were the B team, but it felt that way where it was like, you're dancing for the I don't know, it's just a weird thing. Anyways, I was on a dance tour and then I watched another dance show, but I was 10, so I was tired. And it was Cirque du Soleil, and I totally fell asleep during the entire show. And apparently they made
no.
yeah, the clown came over to me and like made fun of me while I was asleep. But I just remember waking up and someone was on a bunch of chairs stacked.
You know which show it was?
I don't. Oh man, I'm 38 now, so this is a while ago. I just remember everyone being like, "They made fun of you," and I was like, "That's all right." I mean, it was late. It was past my bedtime. Uh, Cirque du Soleil is really cool. They have some really great shows. Even they have a lot in Vegas too.
Mm,
Are you
yeah.
open as a dancer? Are you open to moving to any place? Are you
Mhm.
like malleable in that way?
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
cool. I hope you move to Vegas because then I can see you more.
Yeah.
Uh,
I'd love to experience the Vegas scene at least
You'd be
once.
great in Vegas.
Yeah, I'd love to do Vegas. Yeah, we'll see.
You could do it.
It's on the list.
You could easily give me your list, girl. We'll get you. I'm not worried about
Gotta
this.
check it
You'd
out.
be perfect for Vegas. Yeah, you're such a great dancer and you have such a great work ethic. Yeah, you would crush it. If there's someone out there who doesn't want to be a dancer but just wants to learn like a cool trick, what would you recommend for that?
Just to learn a cool trick. Um, just take class. Come sign up for class. Why not? Or learn online if you want to learn online. If you don't want to go in class and you're not a class sane person and you get intimidated, learn online. There's nothing wrong with that. Or ask a friend that's a dancer.
Yeah,
And
I learned my elbow stand at home when I was like really little,
yeah.
because I wanted it so bad. But that was like a safe trick to learn at home. Obviously, don't do like a back handspring by yourself somewhere.
Yeah, maybe don't try that first. Maybe start smaller.
Yeah, yeah,
With
yeah.
the cartwheel.
For sure, for sure. Oh, well, this has been amazing. Is there anything that you want to shout out for people or uh any life? I don't know what you got going on, girl. And I haven't seen you forever. It's just so exciting to see you. I can't believe you live in Australia now too. Um,
I either.
how does the green card work? Is it just like, oh, I got stuck here, so you have to keep me? Or like, how does that even?
The visa situation was a handful, but I finally got there. I'm in the process of a partner de facto visa. So
Good. Congrats.
yeah, yeah, thanks.
It's like, yeah, I can't go home right now. I don't know what you
Yeah,
want from me. It's not my fault, you
yeah,
know?
it's a lot. It's been a lot.
And do you teach any classes online if someone wanted to take a class from you or anything like that ever?
I don't actually, but if any people are interested or want help stretching or basic acro or ballet, I love to. Yeah.
Yeah, you'd be so good at that, like a virtual, like how to like beginner circ via just be safe and maybe have your parents somewhere you can actually. That's one of the classes that on
Ready to try.
yeah, like because there were a lot of studios that had to go on Zoom during COVID,
Oh
and
yeah.
I'm sure that that's like a class. Like I can't imagine trying to teach an acro class on Zoom.
Yeah. Props to all those people that had to teach online during that time. It must have been so hard to teach through a laptop, through a screen. I don't know how they did it, but we had to. Some people had no choice. So,
Some people are still teaching that way. Yeah, they're crushing it. They're crushing it.
yeah.
On your cruise ships, have you ever taught any contemporary classes to, when you said you had group classes?
I didn't actually. No.
Well,
Never
now
did.
we know what you have to do next time.
Yeah.
And you
Another thing
said
to off the list.
also a common thread that I've been hearing on this podcast is ballroom. Everyone has had to learn ballroom. So it sounds like everyone needs to learn ballroom. Is this true? Like if you want to do a show, at some point you're going to have
No,
to.
no, not technically no. It depends on what ship, but if you get on that ship, they will teach you. You
Oh,
don't
so
have
you can get hired and not kind of like your aerial stuff. You
yeah,
can get hired
like
and they will teach you
some
how to do
ships
it.
have ballroom shows and you just learn in rehearsals. You
So
learn
it's
how to
like
do all the
paid
stuff.
classes.
Yeah, it's like what I said about aerial. Like I had no training in aerial, but I eventually got there because I kept doing it and they teach you how to do it in the company. So
Do you
yeah.
learn it on the boat or do you learn it on land? I got to stop calling it a boat.
On land first.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
they have a whole aerial studio in their studios in Miami. Yeah, we learned on land first,
And
and
I
then
do know a lot of cruise ship dancers. Most leave out of Miami, so you definitely are going to have to be in Miami for a hot minute.
yeah, yeah,
And have your
Miami.
parents gotten to watch you guys?
Yeah. They usually drive up every rehearsal period and come watch the office run is what we call it. So everyone's invited to after we've learned the show. Everyone's kind of invited to whoever they want to bring to come watch them, and other people that are in the studios as well. Other dancers can come watch,
It's like a
and the
soft
office runs
open.
watch as well. So little performance.
I
Yeah.
love that. When you and Courtney were on the same ship together, did you guys get to room together? I totally dropped that topic. Courtney's your sister.
No, we didn't room together, but we lived around the corner from each other.
That must
She
have
had,
been so fun to like be
yeah,
on a ship with your sibling that you guys are like a year apart, not even. So you guys are very close,
yeah.
I'm assuming. Look at me throwing a relationship on you guys. You guys love each other, right? Because you don't have a choice. You did when you were 10. Uh, no, we're not. That'd so weird.
We probably get along more that we're better that we're older now.
I
When
believe,
you're younger, you just like bicker and fight,
of
but
course.
now that we're older, we're besties.
I love it. I love that you guys got to do a show together. I think that's amazing. I love that. I wish my sister and I got to do a show. We never did, other than like dance competitions. But we never got to do like a real show together. That would be really cool. Well, awesome. Thank you again for meeting with me and talking with me and helping everybody who has any questions about dance. Again, is Instagram the best way to reach you in general if they are looking? And that's at GABBYKIBY underscore for no reason. Don't put the no reason. It's just underscore. That's her Instagram. Is there anything else that you want to say?
Um, Thanks for having me. I'm
Always.
really excited that we got to do this.
Yeah, I'm so
And
excited I got to catch up with you.
decades, maybe. I don't know. It feels like
A long time. Well, thank you so much for taking the time out of your day in Australia. We're like completely 15-hour different time frame. So I really do appreciate you taking the time to meet here. Everybody, Gabby, who is so cool. Thanks for coming.